Hey family, it's time for Winedown with your host Missy and the Winedown Wednesday crew. Join us tonight as we discuss topics that affect families on a daily basis. So grab your glass, your cup, or even your blanket. Settle in on the couch and join us in the room as we go live in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hola, family, and welcome back to another live edition of Wind Down Wednesday. This will actually be our last live Wind Down Wednesday for the 2022 year. We will be back on January the 11th with a new edition. So I'm grateful to see so many of my faces in the room tonight, so many ladies that you are very familiar with. You may actually see a few faces that you are not familiar with. So we are again, grateful that you are joining us. I know that several people have been giving me feedback about this topic that we're going to be talking about tonight, and I thought it was very important and very fitting that we talk about the holiday and the seasonal depression right before we go into Christmas, realizing that it's not a merry, happy holiday, happy anything for a lot of people. So if we could do anything to give suggestions, to lighten the load, to do whatever to help out, as always, we definitely want to. So welcome in the room. There is no hate speech in our room. Everybody is entitled to their differences of opinions. What you do and what works might not work, but it might work for me. So we offer the opportunity, especially with this topic, if you would like to join us live in the room and actually talk with our therapist that we have tonight, we would welcome you into the room to ask questions. So we are definitely going to get into some things that may be a little bit heavy tonight. We were talking right before the show went live, and some of you may or may not know, may or may not have heard that the DJ Twitch from Ellen DeGeneres' show actually committed suicide. And that is sad. I mean, it's sad, and it's a great example of you can't look at people sometimes and tell what they are going through on the inside. So I think that just because everybody puts on a smiling pretty face and makeup and nice clothes and they do their hair and they walk out the door and they greet you with a smile does not mean they are smiling on the inside. There are a lot of reasons that people go through depressions and different things, seasonal. We deal mostly with like pregnant and postpartum mommies. So that's a whole lot. People are like, yeah, you're pregnant. You might be feeling like, don't do that, go away. It's a real thing. And it's not that you don't love your baby. It's not that you're not excited that you're going to be a parent. Sometimes your emotions just don't match what people think it should look like. So we're going to talk about that tonight. So joining me in the room again is Rachel. We have Nick. I see Sheen. I see Nay. Shayla's here. TJ's here. Angie's here. Cherie. And Lindsey is not a new face, y'all. Lindsey is one of us. Lindsey just, after COVID, Lindsey had to go back to life. And so it's just not feasible for her to be here every Wednesday with us. But we are grateful that we always know in a pinch and in need, Lindsey is our go-to for whatever we need. So if you don't know her, Lindsey has a little one of her own. Lindsey is still technically in the postpartum phase herself, even though she has a toddler, not an infant. And postpartum depression and all of that, somebody lied when they said 6 weeks, it's all better. It's not. Like, I'm just going to dispel that myth right here, right now. It's not. You can go through the effects of having a baby. I heard somebody say, once you have a baby, you always postpartum. And that is so very true, because things change. And so you are always postpartum. You might not be freshly postpartum, and maybe your hormones have done some things to regulate, but maybe they didn't regulate all the way, or you just feel a different way. So I'm going to let Lindsey talk to us a little bit, and feel free to ask questions. The chat is being monitored. So if you have a question in the chat for Lindsey, and then we're also going to make sure that before we log off tonight, that you have Lindsey's contact information, her website, so that even if Lindsey can't take you as a client or a patient, then she can refer you because we trust Lindsey's referrals. So, hey, Lynn, how you been?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for joining us tonight. Did you hear about the suicide this morning with the DJ Twitch? Did you hear about that at all?
Yes, a friend sent that to me this morning, and I was absolutely shocked. I really was, because everything about him just represented joy. I used to watch Ellen. So like everything about him, anytime you saw him, it was like pure joy. And for him to be so young, I mean, I guess something like that, it doesn't have a age, it doesn't have a race, it doesn't have a gender. But it was definitely very, very sad to me. Just overall, it was just very, very sad, because it does go back to you don't know what someone's going through. But sometimes, honestly, what they present might be literally what they're presenting, and you can feel joy throughout the day, and then you go home and then it's an overwhelming sadness or this overwhelming feeling of hopelessness or whatever it is that you're going through, and those could be two real feelings that exist at the same time. And I think sometimes people have this ideology that it has to look a certain kind of way, and it doesn't. Because I swear, I feel like, especially with African Americans, we always go to conspiracy theory of, no, it must have been something else. No, someone must have been in the hotel, or no, someone, like I have this conversation every single time with a friend of mine that it could not have been suicide. And no, our people go through it just like other people go through it. So
It is.
one thing that you were saying, I wanted to just touch upon real fast, the postpartum. I think for me, I didn't necessarily call it postpartum, but what I will say is that after I had my daughter, I feel in a different way that I've never felt. Things hit me in a different way. And I don't know if I'm more human now or my wall is down, but I just know that I've never cried as much as I've cried since I've had Ava. And I can't even say it's depression. I think I feel everything now. On a different level. So.
It opens you up. It definitely opens you up. And every thought that you think after you become a parent includes somebody else. So every action you take, every reaction you take, you have to think about, I'm a parent. Like, I can't go out here and show my tail and throw these hands in the street like I used to, because I got a baby at home. So you rethink your life. From the time you find out you're pregnant, your life takes on a whole different way of movement when you have these little. So it's, it's real. So I have a question. I've heard the saying that even with the time changing, like daylight savings and all of that, it's a higher instance of suicide because it gets dark earlier, and so people feel more sadness like this time of year. Is that true?
I can't remember the research on it, but I want to say yes. Like, even if you think about Alaska, because it's dark when they wake up, it's dark at night, that place has a very high level of depression. I know that in regards to my practice, seasonal depression I'm very intentional with my clients right around this time. It's a lot. It has to do with the darkness of daylight savings time, but it also has to do with holidays. Holidays can be triggers for different people. The interaction that you have with your family, the type of family that you might. And so with a lot of my clients, what we've been working on is redefining your traditions. Just because other people's traditions were your traditions doesn't mean that you have to do that. So I had a client that I recently was working on. Because last year it was like I had to prep her all the way up to going to see her family. Then she saw the family. Then she regressed another like 5 months. So it's like, why are we putting ourselves through this? So this year we were intentional and we did Friendsgiving for Thanksgiving. But like, you can redefine what your holiday looks like. You don't have to necessarily put yourself through something that's not beneficial for your mental health. And you can make up your own traditions. Like, now that I have Ava, I don't know why, but I done found my voice on a whole other level than before of like, I'm not running around all day on Christmas to this person's house and that person's house and that person's house. I'm staying here. I am relaxing. We're going to enjoy these toys and I am chilling and I will maybe make it to dinner. But I'm not anything that I feel like isn't serving me or my family, I'm not committing to.
And that's important. And finding your voice is really hard sometimes. And that's the reason some of us need therapy, is because we come from such domineering families that when you have children, you're like, wait, I mean, I get that's my mom, that's my grandmother, but now I'm a parent. And so like you have to take on dual roles. You're not just a child anymore. Now you're the parent as well. And people find it offensive that you want to start your own traditions and do certain things, but your mental health is real, because when you lose it, I don't mean no harm. Half these people that's telling you what to do and what not to do, they're not gonna be the first to sign up to take care of your kids.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole family.
The hardest, I call them the gospel aunties, honey. Those aunties that that don't know, you will tell them 2 and 3 times and they still come back and say it in a different way or a different shape. Well, why don't we do it this way? Or why, when you've already said what you want to do? And it's like, you have to make sure that your words are aligning with your actions so that you can show people better than you can tell them. Because if you keep falling into what they want, then you're going to stay in that cycle.
Yeah. And your mental health is important. Like you can't take care, you can. So let's say you can take care and parent from an unhealthy, traumatic life and place of your own. But when you think about your life and the things that you don't like, you can't visit them on your children. They're not going to automatically change if you don't change the things in your life that caused you to be traumatized. That doesn't just happen. So, and it's a stigma around, especially Black mental health. Like we're not supposed to see therapists, or we're extra strong, or we should. No, sometimes we need to be the first one at the therapist's door when they open, and we probably need to walk her to a car when she leaves, because we need to get all of this stuff out. And I was talking to in one of my mommy groups, I was talking to a mom that recently they suffered a loss. So the parent of the child passed away. And so she was struggling, and she was saying the kids are in therapy, and what you doing for you? What you can't, like, they going to therapy and then coming home and they have to deal with a mom that's still in a place of the trauma that they're going to a therapist to kind of get over. So it's one of those, what we say all the time, you got to put your mask on first, like you're in the airplane, you got to take care of you in order to take care of them. So what do you say to the mom that says they run around and do everything for their kids, but they putting themselves last?
I mean, it just goes back to what you're saying. If you don't have any breath left, then what are you giving them? And I think that the best thing that you can do when you look at a totality of how you are emotionally, mentally, spiritually, if you're not in a good space, then you're going to lack patience. You're going to be real short. You're going to be easily irritable. It's going to be all of these things that you're going to be doing. And that's the biggest piece of it. I had one of my other clients, we were talking the other day, and we were talking about something she wanted about goals. And one of the things was she wanted her child is under a year, and I don't know, it's this thing that we feel like, she's like, I don't want to do my child a disservice. I need to have them in this activity and that activity, and I don't know how I'm going to make time for school if I'm doing this and that. And I had to tell her, I said, you're not doing your child a disservice. They don't care nothing about no swimming or these music classes. Because in my mind, I went through all of this. I had even 2 activities at one time, and I thought that was the silliest thing I could have ever done to myself. Like, it was for me, because I'm running around crazy. And the biggest blessing that I can give her is stability and just happiness and love and security. And so what I'm trying to tell her is that a disservice is going to be you not fulfilling your own goals and feeling some kind of way. But at this young age that we're doing, we got our whole lives. Once it's go time with these kids, it's go time. So like these younger age, like, why are we stressing ourselves out to throw them in everything and do all of this stuff if you can do it. But if you can't, it's okay. It's okay, because the biggest thing, once again, is the love, the happiness, Like, what are you modeling? Are you modeling joy? Right? That's a real question. Are you modeling joy, and how you communicate to your mate, and how you communicate to your family, and how you communicate just as a whole? And like, that's something you need to work on. If that's,
I remember to give myself grace. I just had to keep like reminding myself the only thing that we know for sure is that I am his mom. Like, I know I'm his mom. He knows I'm his mom. We think that's his daddy. Just kidding, that's his daddy. But like, that's the only thing that we know for sure. And it was like, okay, is my child going to be more upset that like today's Thursday and I didn't take them to swimming? Or is he going to be more upset that today is a regular day and I'm irritable and I'm telling him, shut up, go to bed. No, you can't have any more cookies because I just ran around and take him to swimming. He's going to be more hurt that the person who he knows is mommy was being mean to him, was short to him, was touched out, was pushing him away when he wanted to cuddle. That's going to hurt him way more than feeling like my routine is off. Normally around this time, I'd be in the pool. Like, that's nothing. But that's what I had to tell myself from the beginning. Like, when breastfeeding was hard and some days it didn't work, it was like, don't matter. He knows I'm mommy. End of the story. Like, everyone has their opinion. Okay, grandma. Okay, grandpa. Okay, daddy. But at the end of the day, I'm his mom. He knows that. Love him. Whatever. Flick his hand because he touched an outlet. So what? I'm mom. And like, that's how I had to recenter it. But I feel like it is a lot to juggle, because there's like the parenting sandwich. Those of us with parents who are still living, in-laws who are still living, you have to still care for them in a way, care for your own kid and care for yourself, and then not be rude to your partner who's supposed to be helping you raise this kid. So it's like a delicate balance of putting your foot down. I think that's why having your circle established first really helps. So that way you're not shutting people out who actually may mean well, because some people you are going to have to be like, no, I don't care what you think about it. The answer is no. But like, if that's your husband or, you know, someone that you're really raising your child with or doing life with, you might have to give them more patience and actually talk to them. But then that means you, in essence, starve other things like work or, you know, the people on the road. But you have to really find that balance. And yeah, having a kid makes you think twice about everything. Like, even just if my phone rings while I'm driving, I'm on my way to pick my son up. If I look at this, I could not be on the way to pick my son up. So like, it's dramatic, but that's how I have to think about everything, because that's my important thing right now.
One of the things I heard you say was advocating for yourself, which I think is very important. And somebody else was talking about insecurity as a mom. And I think that as moms, we're all, like, to me, I'm very hypersensitive about that, right? Because I'm a new mom, you're trying to figure it out, we're trying to wing it. So I'm very intentional on making sure that my social circle is encouraging me. And when they're not, like, of course, you're gonna have your annoying sister, or you're gonna have someone that says something that is just inappropriate or whatever. But I control how much of that I'm letting in. And I control what, you know, I can leave that space, but I make sure that I'm not having that type of interaction around me on a regular basis, and advocating and knowing what you need and telling people, like, that was rude what you said, or, you know, letting them know, but we have to know what we need. Because I think sometimes as moms or just as people, you don't know what you need, so you can't advocate for yourself. You haven't centered yourself to figure it out, of like, I just need 4 hours on Saturday morning to just give me 4 hours Saturday morning to just do me, relax. And a lot of times people think it's a lot, but 4 hours is like, oh my God, Target, I got me some coffee. You can live your best life in these 3 to 4 hours, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So whatever that thing is that you need, you got to make sure, identify it, and then speak it, whether it's to your mate, whether it's to your family, your social support system, but surround yourself by positive people. And the people that are not positive, make sure, you know, like going into the new year, that you limit that interaction.
So then what do you say to because we have some families out, well, we have some parents out here, they actually give themselves anxiety, because you're talking about the kids and the activities and all that stuff. You know, we already know where our kids are starting off in this world that we are living in. We try to do 1,000% more, because we already know that whatever it is we were given was a little less than. So we try to give more to the children so that they can be better than we are in their lifetime. And as a result, it makes us basically lose our minds, putting them in all these different activities and classes and extra school and this and that. And it's not because we want to create that level of anxiety for ourselves, but it's because we want them to be better. We want them to succeed, and we don't want them to fall through the cracks like many kids that we do see out here. So it's like, you know, how do you find, like people were saying, the perfect balance? Although there's no perfect balance, but how do you find that balance to where you want to give them everything without giving them everything, because they got to work for some things, but
for me,
you already know it comes at a cost.
For me, it's the schedule. So the tip a mother had told me, and I've been trying to do this with Ava, is like, if I'm doing activities, I try to do the activities, at least for right now, while I can control it, Monday through Friday. So I have my weekends to myself. Or another one of my mom friends had just told me about soccer Sunday morning. Girl, I'm not getting up Sunday morning. That is my chill church day. Like, I'm not putting myself, I need to make sure that I'm aligning with at least some downtime, that if we can't control, you know, the activities to a certain extent, can I control the schedule? So at least this is my down day, and then this is my other down day.
So I want to ask
y'all, I'm not a mental health professional, but I think too, like thinking about, we talk about like, do what you can do, and what you can't do, don't do it. But I think defining can, like as Black women, we're like, okay, the class is $100. Well, at the end of this check, I am going to have $200. So I can, okay, you can, but then you only have $100 for the next 2 weeks to get groceries. So is that,
should you?
Can, or it's like, oh, I can because I do have an hour between this commute, and it's just going to mean I have to do this, and I have to. So you technically can. You're going to be irritable. You didn't get a chance to eat any food. You haven't changed out of your work clothes yet. By the time you get home, like there's things that you said you were going to do when you got off work. So yeah, you could, but you're going to pay for it later, and your kids to pay for it later, because like Lindsey said, you're going to be short-tempered. You're not going to have any patience. You're going to be tired because you didn't get to eat a balanced meal. Like you're going to pay for it on the back end. So I think thinking about, like, we don't have to be superheroes. We want to give our kids more. And I think we're already ahead of the game. We really are already just ahead of the game. But I think we exert ourselves trying to do everything, and like we literally drain it, and we're like, well, I made it work for my baby. We ain't got no food, but there's presents under the tree. I think we need food though.
So Dre has been really insistent and determined for me to kind of break that pattern, because he sees that and he's like, we're going to do it dad way. And he's like, the dad way is he fits into our schedule. We don't fit into his.
I love it.
So like whenever I start to be like, oh, I got to do blah, blah, blah. He's like, no. He has to fit into our schedule. We do not fit into his. So he'll reel me back. And so that's how I end up saying, okay, well, I have had him into, I've often put him in 2 different activities at the same time, but because of Dre forcing me to reevaluate my schedule every time I pick an activity, it's not stressful like I would expect it to be. The stressful part is actually getting him sometimes in his clothes, for the activity versus getting there, being prepared, because every single time I get to that point, he's like, no, he has to fit into our schedule. So on days in which we're going to be gardening, well, he has to go outside and play. So he's going to have an interest in gardening. And when we're doing something, we are slotting him in more. And I struggle with that.
It helps with balance though. That really helps with balance.
It
because
does.
you still have your me time.
It does. And I want to ask a quick question though, because we're talking about how to manage some of these like anxious feelings and things that might make us sad. Is how many of you have reacted in a moment and like yelled at the kid or whatever? Because we got to normalize this. People that act like they got this whole, and I get gentle parenting is a way of parenting, and I'm not a gentle parent. I'm just not even gonna lie. But there are times when I feel like I go back and I'm like, oh, you tired. Like you. And there's times when my husband, ooh, yeah, we're gonna let mommy sleep because
Yeah, it's somebody around you.
yes.
Like Andrew has said, like, ooh, mommy need a minute. And I'd be like, I don't need a minute. Y'all just need to. And I'm like, I needed a minute. Or I've watched back my cameras and I literally looked at myself and was like, did I really grab him up like that? Like, I'm about to call the police on me. Like, I need a nap.
Yeah.
Well, that happened to me. I did that. And then I was like, okay, you know what? Let's go sit down. You gonna watch Coco Melon, even though I was like, no Coco Melon in this house. But that's gonna keep you occupied so that I can just sit on the recliner. And then as soon as Wallace walked in, he looked and I was like, all right, I'm gone. And I went upstairs, closed the door, and just stayed up there. I was just like, yeah.
Bria straight one day said to me, Mommy, breathe. 5. And she counted me down from 5 to 0. And then she said, you feel better now? And I just looked at her like, because that's what I do with her. I count her down from 5 to 0. And then I'm like, you feel better? Take a deep breath in, deep breath out. She did the same daggone thing to me. And I had to do what she said. And I did it. I did feel better.
I feel like sometimes when I get upset and I like scream or just act abruptly, not very thoughtfully, but just abruptly because I'm overwhelmed, then I feel so guilty. Mm-hmm. And then I find myself picking her up, cuddling her, and saying, Mommy was sorry that she screamed at you, baby. And like, I think she cares, but
yeah,
it's like I have to apologize for my behavior.
I think my feelings sometimes comes from what Lindsey mentioned before, where it's like we as moms feel like we need to do everything and be everything. And I find that I snap when I'm either touched out or too mommied out, if that's a word, where it's like, there's someone else in the house. Go away. Like, just give me 5, because I feel as if like I was on all day at work, and then you come home, then I got to be on for you. But I'm like, there's 10,000 toys in the living room. Like, you don't need me. I'm actually finding joy by standing at the stove and cooking, but you want to be like, I want to be under you there too. Like, come on. And that's where I get like, stop. And I have to stop myself, like, okay, and I'm like, do you want a cookie? Do you want a pouch? And that gives me like 5 minutes. I'm like, that's all I need.
And you're literally throwing a treat.
Just
with
all
dog.
the bad
I
stuff.
saw a TikTok where the lady was making fun of, like, she was like, when you're at the stove or kitchen doing something and your child tries to wedge themselves between the counter and you. And I was like, I thought that was only my house, because I literally am like kicking him with my feet. I'm like,
there's oil on this
pushing
stove.
me.
Get away from here. Yep.
Sitting on your feet, you at the stove, sitting on your feet,
yes.
and like,
and I'm like, you were in the way.
Yeah. It gave me a whole new appreciation for. I remember being younger and being like, Mom, my name is not Mommy, right? And I was just like, that is so funny, because now, like, and that was my tipping. I remember being like, oh my gosh, I need to change my name for a minute. And so it was just like, okay, that, and of course, like the fact that I can remember like those moments where she said that, and for me is like, I obviously was older and it wasn't ever conveyed in a like, oh my gosh, my name, right? And so, but I laugh because I'm like, I hit my starting point of that. So how long do I have to go through this before I can get to a state where I am jokingly saying, my name is not Mommy, right? And my kid laugh at it.
What?
So I was
Shirley,
just
look,
like,
this
oh my
joker right
gosh.
here, this joker, I said that. I tried it one day. I did. And I said, I'm moving. My name is not I said it. She called me by my whole name. I said, I couldn't win. I couldn't win. She
But they
called
give
me
it
by
back to
my
you.
because
first.
your kid is so brilliant. So then you're like, oh my God, you're so smart. Like, oh.
But they
I
give it
remember
back
I
to you.
snapped at Ava one time. I think I was at Dawn's house and she was doing something and I took her arm or something. And I don't know why, but Missy, you were right there and Dawn was right there. I was like, oh God, they're gonna report me to CPS, like in my mind. And I always just remember that, like, and that kind of put me back in the check in my mind. I was just thinking, like, because you don't even see it. I'm just like, come on, let's go. And then she got herself together. It worked, but I just.
But you
like,
gotta have people. You gotta have people. When we lived in Germany, we had in our group, because the common thing was we were all military. We were all on the same base. And our base was each other, kind of like we have in our home group. And you have to have people that you can yell switch and everybody look up like who baby coming in what direction, because somebody is yelling, they need a minute. Like, so when you're talking about surrounding yourself with people, you got to have people that you can say, I'm not okay. Like, I'm really not okay. And you ain't got to worry about somebody calling social services. You ain't got to worry about somebody saying you a bad mommy. You should be able to say all of those things and be able to know that the people you are saying it to, or the person that you're saying it to, if you don't have multiple, it's about 12 of y'all that I would say it to. But if you only have one, you should be able to pick up the phone and say, like right now, I'm not like, okay, the thoughts that I'm having, I'm not okay. The feels that I'm feeling, it's not okay. And I feel like if I'm not okay, my kids are not okay. Not that they're physically unsafe, but maybe they are emotionally unsafe because I'm emotionally not in a good place. And so who can I yell switch? And I know they're going to stop what they're doing and be like Nick has offered to do it before, like, you need me to come get your kids to the playground? Which you need me to do? Because of what we're going through right now. All of these people, I pray that somebody looks at what happened with Twitch and they can say, I got to get one person. If I pick up the phone and I dial your number, if I don't say nothing, that means you need to get to me. If I don't, we say that to postpartum mommies. If I just have to sit next to you on the couch, we ain't got to say nothing to each other. I'm going to just sit right here. I'm going to hold this space for you. You could cry, scream, fall apart, break stuff, whatever you need to do. And I'm going to make sure you're safe. And then we're going to make sure that this all passes and you're in a good place when I walk out the door. People don't have that. People don't have a safe place, especially sometimes our people, because we are so afraid of the system. And if I say I don't like my kids,
and also because we're looked at as strong.
Yep.
Even amongst our circles, whoever in your family that you think that is that strong person, is the one that everybody goes to, that person that everybody goes to, that's the one you need to check on the most, because they are the quietest ones. They won't ask for, because everybody's going to them. And especially during this time, I would say, yes, people may want to be able to call out, like Missy said, but that person that's quietest the most, go to them and ask, how are you doing? And they may say, oh yeah, I'm fine. Let's go for a cup of coffee. And I bet you by that 30-minute mark, when y'all chit-chatting over coffee, something's gonna come out, right? Mm-hmm. So, and when Lindsey was talking before, I was just like, around this time, it's the strong people that people tend to forget about, to be like, how are you doing? Because you might have a lot on your plate. You may be doing too much. I need you to take care of yourself. Have you made your doctor's appointment today? Have you taken a second to have a cup of coffee today?
And I think the strong people know. I think the strong people know this, and it really takes someone else to say it. Like, I remember having tell myself to stop thinking about people's responses before I say it. Because it was almost like, okay, if I say this, I know they're going to say, it's okay, it's great, you know, whatever. Or, and I would be like, so I'm not even going to say anything. But having that one-sided conversation with the person and kind of like not putting stuff on them, but kind of saying like, I know it's probably really hard for you. I know you probably haven't had a nap in like a month. Like just start saying things, and I think eventually something is gonna hit, and they're gonna be like, "Yeah, I didn't want to tell you any of this. You're right. Like I haven't showered in 3 days. Like I haven't had pizza every day for the last 6 nights, and it's not anything that anyone wants to say because people are so quick to lighten things and think that it's helpful. Like, oh, it's okay, girl. I have pizza every day. Okay, you're not hearing me. Like I have not had vegetables in a week. Like you're not hearing what I actually said. So I think if you're with those strong people, instead of like trying to ask open-ended questions, like even just sharing your experience and being like, I remember when that was me, I probably went a week hour girl, and it wasn't until I went to Target and I was like, oh my gosh, these people looking at me. Just something to put it all out there, because I think the strong people too, holding it in for so long, it's almost scary when you think about your release. Like, because you know when you release, like if anybody hears about this, and they're gonna call CPS. I remember I used to be so scared to even text my best friend everything, because I was like, if they take these text messages, somebody could spin this and make it look like, you know, whatever, but it was just my feelings. So like your circle, and sometimes it's not your family. It's just
and even at work, I tend to always try to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, I want, because we are at the 20-minute mark, I want to ask Lindsey to give us some strategies or some things for the person that feels this way.
Well, one thing that came to me was Nate, we talked about this in another session when you were saying like with the job that you have and like the job that I have, so dealing with day-to-day situations and then dealing with life. But I think that if you have negativity in certain areas, so for example, for me, I got off of social media after the Shanquella, I think Robinson, like I could not take one other thing. And what I had to realize, like between me seeing the news, between seeing social media and all of these different things that were happening, my worldview was being skewed. Like I remember calling my girlfriend up one day and I was just like, we're living in a war zone and no one is doing anything about it. And I just was like, Lynn, you're in old Bowie, like you're okay. Like you can go to Safeway, and not to say that it's, you know, that things don't happen over here, but I start to feel like, because I'm feeling everything, it's as if, you know, I'm dealing with all of these different things. And so with me getting off of social media, I've been off of it for about a month and a half, and I love it. Like I've created this bubble of happiness. Like unless you send me a link or it's on Fox 5 or I might see TMZ, I don't know what's going on, and I'm okay with it. Like I really am okay, because it's overload. It is complete overload right now with everything that's going on. So I think you controlling your narrative in the sense of what's coming in, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, who you have around you. I think all of that is you have to be very intentional on how, especially in this day and age, you have to be very intentional on your surroundings and the energy that you're bringing into your life. And when it is not where you need it to be, you need to be assertive in how you move things in a way to make it the way that you want it to be. Advocate for what you need. If it's something that you need, there's something that you feel like you're missing, advocate for what you need. Say it, and just be intentional on right now I'm working with a lot of my clients on manifestations of their goals for next year. But the goals that we're focusing on, it's all coming back to your emotional well-being. So professionally, where do you want to be that's going to help your emotional well-being? Personally, where are you going to be? Exercise or diet, whatever that thing is, what are you doing that's bringing internal joy and helping your emotional well-being? Because that's really the end goal at the end of the day. That's really, really what's important.
Yeah. That's your question though. How well did you do like first few days of the social media detox. Like I don't do social media, but I read a lot of news. And it definitely makes me very negative sometimes. And I need to do that myself.
I think the first 3 or 4 days might have been a little tough, but what I realized is I started focusing on things that I needed to focus on, like trying to plan a trip, like researching flights, like, work on my to-do list of things that like I haven't been doing, things that I should be researching with Ava that I just haven't got a chance to. So it's just a lot of things that like it's so much wasted time that goes into social media. Like it is so, when you look at your screen time or things of that nature. So it's like, how can I do, like someone just said, a healthy replacement? So whether it's reading a book that I haven't got done, I try to just substitute it with things that are more pouring into me and then going about it in that way.
Yeah, replacing the time, because it's some people just stop and pause their whole whatever, and you get caught into this back and forth, this up and down. Social media is, and I can't say it enough, if you watch enough or you rabbit hole things, people are more likely to go with the trauma stories than the joyful stories. So when you in here looking at all of this stuff, it is more negativity out there than it is positivity. Not that there's not some of both, but people, if I get mad and go to Walmart and the teller don't say thank you or whatever it is, I'm quick to jump on and be like, the lady, and you don't go to the Walmart because this, and people don't. But the nice lady behind you that helped you, play with the baby while you was getting your money out your wallet or your car, and she just you don't go on social media and say, I met this nice old lady at the Walmart today, and we don't do that because we release more trauma than we do joyful stories. And then also you see people on social media that you compare yourself to. So you a struggling mom trying to breastfeed and take care of your kids, and she done got up there with a bottle this big full of milk that she done pumped out. She ain't told you that her baby 10 months old, and this is the result of pumping every 2 hours for the rest of her life. Like, she not telling you that. So now you on there going, dang, my breast don't make that much milk. Maybe my baby hungry. And now there go the negative thoughts. So sometimes it's not even intentionally that you're doing it, but you comparing yourself to people is dangerous. Like, everybody on social media ain't happy. They posting all the pictures of them and their families and they doing, and as soon as they take that picture down or turn that picture off, they fighting like cats and dogs. So don't compare yourself to other people's parenting, to other people's whatever. Their whole life is organized. They shelves, you walk in their house, everything is labeled, and you be like, Lord, I can't get my shoes past the front door. So what? It's your house. Like, what are we doing? Like, nobody's coming through with the white glove test going, oh, your shoes, you didn't put them on the rack. And we're not doing that. You're stressing yourself out. And most of us, it's hard to think, but we parent, I think, sometimes. When y'all were talking about balances and Naomi was talking about, giving your kids what you didn't have, we look back in our life and we'd be like, we missed out on this. Our friends had this lesson, they did that, and they got to take ballet, and I ain't get to do none of that. My kids gonna do all of that. And now, like she said, we are stressed out from this into this thing, because every 5 minutes in our little calendar, we got this, and then we got 10 minutes to get from here, knowing it's a 30-minute drive. Now you stressed out in the car, beeping your horn, and the kid in the back seat, they riled up. They don't even know why they riled up, but they riled up because you riled up, and they going, mommy, go, and it's like they can't process it. So we gotta.
Think about the last time you did that for yourself. Like, when is the last time you wanted to do something so bad that you skipped lunch, that you sat in traffic, that you and I started doing those things for myself. Like, if that means we listen to Jingle Bells and Christmas songs the whole way to where I want to go, like I did that yesterday. I had a workout class. I wasn't going to make it. Guess what? He went with me, and he sat up in there with me until his dad got there to come. 295 in traffic, singing Christmas songs, because it was something that I wanted to do. And I was in good spirits about it. But let it have been that long of a ride to take him to swimming, to put him back in the car with wet hair and wet clothes? No. But I'll do it for me.
We were talking about our tough friends that we have. the good ones that we think they're good, but sometimes they're not really good. And most times when you ask somebody, how are you? They tell you okay, because like Nick said, that's the response you're expecting them to give you. But most times they tell you okay because, hey, are you really going to pay attention to what I actually have to say?
Mhm.
And I actually had to break that down to somebody when I was working. Every single morning, this person used to call. And when that person called, they'd be like, how you doing? I just be like, okay. Like as dry as can be. But I was never okay because, the way my injuries are set up, I'm not okay every day. So finally, this guy says, he was a supervisor, and he says to me, every time I call up there and I ask you how you're doing, you always say okay. I said, yeah, because if I tell you how I'm really doing, are you actually going to care? And then he said, well, lay it on me, basically. And then I said, well, this hurts, that is bothering me, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, blah. And I just let him have it. And then at the end of it all, he said, oh my God, you're going through a lot. He said, just keep saying okay. It's literally what he told me. Just keep saying okay.
That's crazy.
Because
they don't.
And I said, well, that's why I say okay, because no one really wants to know. All they want to do is, hey, how you doing? Can you get me this? Like, you only calling me to find out what I could do for you. You don't care how I'm doing. You're just saying it as a formality. So I'm going to say okay as a formality as well. But at the same time, I wasn't okay.
I'm going to say this to you all. Think about, and this is like homework while we're all out of Winedown. I want you to make a list of like 5 people and put their names somewhere that you got to look at every day, and be intentional about checking on them until we come back to this space. Because I'm going to ask all of y'all, who was your person? Like, did you actively listen, or did you control the conversation? When you text or call, whatever you have time to do, because I know, Nick, y'all millennials, y'all don't like to call, y'all like to text. Whatever you do, however you do it. Because my son was like, why you calling me, man? We could have texted all this. Sit down, just answer the phone, it's your mother. Anyway, call and be intentional and say, hey, how are you? Or text and say, hey, do you have time for a 10-minute conversation? Mm-hmm. Maybe later on or tomorrow. Let's talk, let's catch up. And be intentional about checking on them. If you got to write it down, like I got a calendar with a whole bunch of people's names on it, and I look at it a couple times a week, and I'll send out a text. Hey, how you doing? What you doing? How because it's not that I don't care about them enough to keep them here, but life. Like hashtag life. And so in order, my being intentional is to put their names on my wall because they mean that much to me, and send a text and say, hey, how you doing? You'd be so surprised.
She sets reminders to check in with like family members and friends. And I had to like learn to stop answering the phone, because sometimes I would answer the phone because my anxiety, I'd be like, something could actually be wrong, right? So I would answer the phone and I'd hear it out. And if it's just chit chat, I'd be like, okay, I'm busy. But I've actually learned, like, if I don't think I can entertain the conversation for more than 2 minutes, I just don't even answer. And I might text them later, like when I actually have the free time. But I felt so much pressure to answer. Whenever someone called, even if it were to be like, hey girl, give me 5 minutes, I'll call you right back. Like, no, I'm just not going to answer. And in 5 minutes, if I am free, I will call you back. But I had to learn that because that was stressing me out. And I forgot. I tell people to call back and I forget, and then they take it personal.
Another way that I think we can try to, put boundaries and make sure that we are not putting ourselves in the depressive state is also professionally. Make sure that your boss recognizes when you are overloaded, or you find a way to recognize when you are overloaded. If your boss sees it and does not try to help you, you should not be with either that boss or that company, because you shortchanging yourself professionally and then now personally, you're just digging yourself an early grave. And that's one of the reasons why I still stay with my company today, even though I'm not trying to go nowhere. But my boss does a very good job in our team meeting to be like, listen, I know no one has said it to me, but I know what all of you are working on, and I'm kind of feeling like we are at the end of our ropes. So let's go around the table. What are you actively working on? And I'm going to tell you what you're taking off your list. And he does that every other month or so. And if he doesn't do it, we're all the same. We'll just keep piling on our plate and saying yes and yes and yes because we feel as if we have to and all this stuff. So be mindful of that too in your professional space. Yeah.
And be intentional about your self-care. So whether you feel like, I mean, therapists, they tell us that we need a therapist, you know, so I try to make sure that I'm doing a check-in with somebody at least monthly. But even if you feel like therapy isn't your route, whether it's yoga, whether it's guided meditation, but you need to be doing something, a spa that is focusing on just letting you stop, letting your mind just reset and just relaxing. Like you have to be intentional about that piece, because if you don't allocate the time, it's just not going to happen. As parents, as moms, it's just not going to happen. So if that's one thing that you can do in your manifestations, is just say, how can I put a little small corner of a time, and that is just me time, and I need to make sure that that looks like this.
And you know, Rachel, the one thing I noticed after COVID, well, we still in COVID. The one thing I noticed since 2020 COVID was, with all of the shortages that we have, more and more is getting dumped on the employee. And I too had to say, hey, mentally, I can't do this. I can't give the job everything that I have. And physically too, because physically I just can't do it all anymore. I can't give you everything I have, because if I give you everything I have, I still have to go home to be with my family, to be with my two toddlers. At the end of the day, I have to be able to give them something. And if I'm giving you all I have, that means I have nothing for myself, and I definitely have for them. So
plus the added pressure of you're a Black woman, you can't do meets expectations. You always got to try to shoot for above because of that, right? So
right. And I mean, after a while, he understood. My supervisor understood what I was saying, but it took more than one conversation to say it. So yeah, I do believe that if you're gonna have a supervisor, or if you're gonna be working with a company, you need to be able to say, this is too much. I cannot handle all of this. And if they don't understand, or if they keep adding more onto your plate, then it's not for you.
And
just like being mindful that you only have so much energy, like literally like a phone, like, okay, you start off at 100%. If you gave this much, then you're only going to have this much when you get home. But then the second part of that is you could charge it, right? So like a lot of us charge our phone while we're at work, or even in the car on the way home to replenish what was lost during our 8-hour shift. So like if that means on the way home, you know, you stop at the gas station and you run inside and get yourself a Slurpee, like that's your charge. Or you listen to your favorite song, or Dunkin' Donuts and get your coffee. Like charging yourself incrementally, I think is like what has helped me, because I may not be able to be at 100% all the time, all day. Like by the time I get home, it may be 60 or 70, but it would have been 50 if I didn't listen to my favorite song, or call my girlfriend, or stop and get myself, you know, something to eat and dip my nuggets in my sauce while I'm driving. Like if I didn't do that, my son really would have only gotten 20 to 30%. And like Rachel said, you're shortchanging yourself at work, thinking that you can do it all. You're not even gonna progress. Like come promotion, you ain't gonna get picked, because yeah, you did everything, but you did it half-assed, and you did it with an attitude because you stressed and you got a family at home. So letting them know you can't do it, finding ways to charge up, spa, food, conversation with a girlfriend, like work those into your routine and advocate for yourself, and like stand for those, no matter if it's a 2-hour drive. I don't care. Like going to meet and hang out with this person is going to charge my battery, so I'm going to go do it.
Pumpkin chai tea latte gives me life. Like I'm trying to tell you.
You gotta have your thing.
But even if sometimes I think that we look at it from a perspective of like we might have time for this thing, And just because we have time, I remember over Thanksgiving break, I had like some downtime and I go into this goal oriented mode. And I was like, you know what? I don't really work on Fridays. So I was like, I can do adjunct professor. And so I started applying for all these adjunct professor positions. And I was like, it's going to look great on my resume and where I'm trying to go and all these things. But then I was like, by Sunday, I came down and I'm like, okay, Lindsey, you add this on your plate and physically you can put this on your plate, but emotionally and mentally, where are you going to be present when you get home? Like, how are we still going to balance this all out? So like physically it could be there, but like emotionally and mentally, if I can't be present for my child because, you know, I'm exhausted, like I'm completely exhausted. It's not worth it for me. And so I have to kind of really have a talk with myself and say, okay, Lynn, maybe we'll do this later on down the line, but like, you still need to give yourself some downtime emotionally and mentally to reset, or she gonna be watching Coco Melon and Rachel's Tyler Learning, and they're gonna be straight raising her. And I can't do that.
And take advantage of all these companies that are offering services to do stuff for you, so you don't feel guilty that you have to do it all yourself. Because having people come and clean, I didn't know that. I thought that was like a luxury item, and all my friends were like, "Oh, girl, we do that all." I was like, "Wait, what?" Best decision I ever made.
Same here,
So,
Rachel. Like, that's been a godsend, because if I had to clean this house and do everything else, some
right?
would get done, and the house probably wouldn't get clean. So yeah, I'm thankful for Shayla cleaning people, because they came yesterday, and I am so happy because my house.
They're coming tomorrow.
You said they free.
I might need a recommendation. I might need y'all. We'll talk about that
I'm
tomorrow.
ready. Trust me. I recommended them to my whole community here. They come to my house and they're like, "Oh, thank you. We got another person." I said, "Yeah, go."
Did you
go
say
do
they're
your thing.
free,
They know
or
what
did
they
you
got.
say you're paying for them?
No, she not free. She just free up some time though.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, I got my point. I was like, I missed that memo. Yeah,
I would love to have some. We had it for a while, but I would love at this point to have somebody to come in and clean. I just want somebody. You ain't got to clean my whole house. I just free up and just clean my bathrooms and do my floors. And I like that.
I say the same, bathroom and floors, and I'm happy.
Yeah. Do my kitchen and my bathroom.
But
Don't
you know
even
what?
make the bed.
We say like that stuff and we talk about it. And when you say stuff like that, people are like, "Oh, you throwing money." You're not. You are literally freeing up your time and your mind.
Ain't that what Cherie says? I pay for time.
Yeah, I said you either gonna pay in time or you gonna pay your money. Figure out which one is more important to you.
Yeah,
I had to actually like train myself to like get my mind right in terms of, and I think it's definitely like an American cultural thing, like, oh, were you productive today? And productive always translated to like, you have to be doing something and you should be able to see evidence of a result that's quantifiable or qualifiable. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, wait a minute, I was supposed to go to the store and then cook, and I go to the store, I come back with groceries. I was productive. I cooked a meal. We can see it and eat it. I was productive. And so I had to get to a point, and I think being a mom has definitely pushed me in that direction to be like, you know what? I didn't do a single thing today that could be quantifiable, but qualifiable, absolutely. I feel so much better than I felt when I woke up this morning. Like, I don't have a headache that I had when I woke up this morning. My back isn't aching like it was when I woke up this morning, or when I write all of these other things that was just like, oh my gosh, like what in the world?
Guilt away. Because
yes,
sometimes I feel so
guilty,
but
even if it
that's why
meant
even
like,
on my alternate Fridays off, my sister's like, "Oh, you should do mommy and me day with your son." I'm like, "For what?" He's in daycare.
Every day is
He's
mommy.
scared.
Yeah, I say the same thing. Like,
I do all these activities, and she's like, I take him out of day. She takes her son out of daycare early so they could do mommy and me. I said, I have him Saturday, Sunday, and every night. I need my Friday when I'm off from work to be off from being a mother. So I will go retail therapy shopping or just lay my black ass
that
on
Friday is everything.
It
is everything.
Shout out to Michelle.
I'm gonna leave the house and go pick up my son.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to feel
Like,
bad when I put Jackson daycare full time because he was just doing part time at first, and I felt bad for about 2 weeks, and
What?
I did,
I got over it real fast.
Ah,
and then I was like, this is actually really nice. Like, oh my gosh,
yeah. And
I
just
just
because you
think
take
it
a
went
day
away,
off,
but I
don't
really
take
felt
a day
bad.
off. Just
Right.
because you take the day off does not mean your child has a day off. There's going to be plenty of time when they go to public school, when school is
Yep.
closed, like it might be tomorrow,
I'm teaching
where
you
all of
now.
y'all
You
gonna
need
have
to
to
know
be off.
Monday
You
through
talking about
Friday.
daycare ain't
You're
even
in
starting until 9
school.
o'clock tomorrow already.
Oh,
Mhm.
see.
They already pushing it back to 9 o'clock start
Yes,
time.
they
Look,
already delaying stuff for the stuff that's coming. So it's gonna be plenty of
but
days.
speaking
You have
of,
to take days off and be home with your kids because everything is closed. So enjoy your days off now that you can drop them off at daycare.
so speaking of days off that we have decided that we're not gonna feel guilty about, what's up with a spa day on a weekday?
You mean
I'm
another
all
ditch
for
check?
it.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
work
but like,
until
You know,
January 24th.
another ditch check?
Girl.
The best life.
Yeah, she got them college students, so that's
I love it.
so it is 10:02. We can talk amongst ourselves in a few minutes after we do this outro. I want to say this. I hope that something that we said, like if you are going through, if you don't do anything else, find at least one safe person. Like just one safe person. Like Lindsey said, therapy is not everybody's thing, but then get you a good girlfriend like that, or a guy friend or friend, whomever, that you can say, I am not okay. Because I would like for everybody to be back here with us in 2023. When we come back, I want everybody to come back with us. And so if you're not in a good place, whatever area you are in, because I know this rebroadcast, like we have people in California, different people that send me messages. So whatever area you in, if you can't find nothing in the area that you in, please again, like reach out and let somebody help you find resources like in your area so that you can find a safe space. If you don't mind, or you are a person that is like, yep, I need therapy, by all means, go to therapy. Let nobody tell you that you shouldn't go to therapy because we strong. Like if one more person say that we strong in any other Black maternal health, Black mental health, whatever areas, like cut that out. Like we are people every day, all day. We are parents, we are co-workers, we are the lady at Walmart that done dealt with the two people before you that had the nasty attitude. We are the people that are coming in to clean your house. We are the people that are on HR that got cussed out 7 times before you called and you wondered why we got an attitude. Like we're those people. So grace for us, grace for yourself, grace for your family, grace for your kids, like all of that, grace for everybody. Find you a safe place because it's a lot. It's a lot. And so we hope that something we said just speaks to you. We did drop Lindsey's information in the comments. When we put this rebroadcast out, we will tag and hashtag and put all of her information in, and it's going to go out completely across the Christmas holiday. We're going to keep putting this out, and I'm going to keep refreshing it to the back of the top of our screen so that you can get in contact with Lindsey if you need to. And then again, if you don't have resources, we'll help you find resources. We appreciate all of you. While you're thinking about giving a gift, think about the mom that need a break, and maybe you don't have no money, but you close with her and you can watch her kids and give her a nap, or you can watch her kids, let her run the Target, or you can go over and help her wrap gifts, or you can go with her to Walmart and just walk through the store and talk to her and let that be her therapy session. Whatever it is, figure out how you can help somebody other than send a Christmas card with $5 in it, because sometimes $5 is needed. I ain't gonna lie, people need $5, but sometimes the mental support is a whole lot more than you sending. And I love y'all kids and they cute and all that, but if you tell me you gonna watch the twins as opposed to sending me a Christmas card and we good like that, that would be do me so much better. So think about those kind of gifts when you think about it. If you can cover somebody's therapy session, how much is it for you to just do 1 hour? Let's check in with a therapist, and then they can refer you for everything else, but I'm gonna pay for that one good hour of therapy. Think about stuff like that as opposed to a Target gift card as much as we like Target. So think about that. And we will see you again on January 11th. We are taking a break for the holidays. So enjoy. And we are going to do our outro, and then we'll say goodnight to the rest of you all, ladies. Oh, we don't.